How much are the private, these companies owing the federal government?
Well, they are owing MBET and therefore, by extension, the federal government about 800 billion the last time we checked.
Are they in trouble?
Well, MBET will be, BP rather, will be in a better place and the regulator to determine, because those are the people who look in their books. As I've said, all of the powers have been taken from the ministry. So their contract is not with the Ministry of Power. It is with the BP, acting for the National Council on Privatization. So it might be a good opportunity, because I recall that one agency was asking me to come and disclose who bought what. My ministry can't disclose who bought what because they didn't contract with me, with the ministry. They contracted with the Council on Privatization. So the people who they contracted with will better be able to identify who they sold to. NEC will better be able to know who are the owners of the company and who are the people who are the alter egos or the back. So, but by the by, to say first, the fundamentals of privatization I concur for utilities. And therefore, all we need to do is to help enable private sector. And that is why we have committed as a government to ease of doing business, enabling private sector to do its work. Those who want to do legitimate business.
So a lot of people will criticize the business of government in some aspects of power generation, distribution, and transmission. And they will say that, look, like you have said on the program today, the role of the private sector. Is your ministry and this government considering reviewing the laws to ensure that some of this power, because it's in the exclusive section of our laws, some of these powers is perhaps given to some state governments or some other sectors of the society to be able to cater for themselves instead of burdening the federal government with these issues?
It's an interesting question that you ask, and I think that the Constitution as it is currently does not limit any state anymore. I can say that with some authority. I can also say that the electric power sector does not limit any state. All you need to do is follow regulations. So there's nothing that stops a state government from seeking to play in the power sector. I think it's Akwa Ibom. They're playing through Ibom Power. We did this back in Lagos. And interestingly, even when we started, when there was no such constitutional enablement, which has now taken place, who were the people who were stopping IPPs? It was the people who now say they want to do mini-grid that we have started. They stopped the AES power in Lagos. There was nothing they didn't do to throw a spanner in decentralizing power. So Nigerians won't forget that in a hurry. So please, let me just make this point, very important point, that states must and should play. And we hold meetings every year in the National Council on Power with state representatives. That's why I can tell you what I know is going on in Kebbi. The Kebbi state government has created a local impact simply by ensuring that everybody monitors the transformers, the feeders, there are community leaders involved, ensuring that the amount of energy is measured, the bill is shared in the community, the disco gets paid. They are getting virtually 24 hours power. And that's an initiative I've said they should relate to me, send to me, so that I can share it with their government. There will be local issues everywhere where people can play. I know that partnering with Abia, for example, we were able to go into area because they had to provide the land. Partnering with Kano, we were able to go into Sabongari so that we can connect 13,000 shops in Sabongari. 37,000 shops are listed to be connected in area. So those are vulnerable, ordinary working class people for whom government is now responding and saying, by off-grid solutions, you should get power. You know the power those people in Abaya area used to get? They used to get 4 hours power with thousands of generators. And they used to pay, I think, about 120 naira per kilowatt, and after 4 hours, they switch it off. Now they're going to get 24 hours power for 10 hours for the whole trading day. That's the difference between us and them.
Let me ask you, Rivers State government has just revoked the concession of some power utility. How would that affect electricity?
Rivers State revoking the concession of a power utility. The only concession that I'm not aware of the facts.
This was recently.
I'm not aware of the facts, but all I can say from the top of my head really is that you cannot revoke a concession you didn't grant. So as long as those concessions are the ones under the larger privatization by NCP, acting for the federal government, the sale of discos or gencos and all of that, it would not lie within the purview of Rivers State. Of course, if Rivers State had privately contracted power, it validates what I have been saying, that there's no law that inhibits any state. As governor here, I contracted 7 power plants. It wasn't that we paid to build them. We signed PPAs. We guaranteed those PPAs on the back of our monthly FAC accounts, that if we default, deduct from our account. So if Rivers State has such an arrangement and has cancelled it, they would know why they did so and whether their contracting terms allows them to do so.
We proceed on our second break, but before we do that, I want to ask you, did you see this? I'll show you this footage in a moment now. One would think that a kind of scenario playing out in Imo and Ogun State, especially in the ruling APC, would not be as complex, but it appears it may even be more confusing, especially for voters. Well, take a look at this. Well, so some members of the APC who moved to the APM say they will vote for Buhari at the presidential election, but APM for governorship at the state and some other levels. With 91 political parties and the rate of education amidst voters, one will wonder whether the voters will find their way in the dark amidst the complex political situation in Ogun State. Just wondering if you saw that. It was an event during the week in Abeokuta. Did you see that? APM on one hand, APC on another hand. We'll take a break. And when we return, this time our attention will be on infrastructure, as the Buhari government tells us they are in every state of the Federation. But where are the projects? We'll find out shortly, everyone.